Oh, I'm live on Twitch. I can hear it. Okay. Hey, hi everyone. Sorry, I just need. We are already. I just need. Oh, okay, awesome. Hey, awesome. Welcome everyone for this new show. My guest is already there. Um, don't worry, Daddy. I will bring you to stage in a few minutes or a few seconds. I'm just checking that everything goes well. Yeah, everything goes well. So say hello on the chat. Say where you come from. I love that. A lot of people are already there. I'm still in the garden. You can see that. A different location. I moved from a few meters because it's starting to get hot here in the south of France, and I need some shadow. Otherwise, my computer won't manage that, and I won't manage that. Okay, so I'm really, really excited today because we have an awesome guest. We will talk about a lot of different topics, and after that, as usual, we do a bit of live coding, and we will play a game, a new game. Well, not a new game. You know, I love Doom. We already played some versions of Doom, but I have a special version of Doom here. I leave you. You will see it at the end, okay? And let me see in the chat. We have James, we have Jordy, hey, we have Aurélie, hey everyone. So it's so glad, so awesome to see you all up there. Okay, so now it's time for the interview. I need to go back to my console here and bring Daria to the stage. I have to click the right button. Yeah, there you are. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good. Can you hear me just fine?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Oh, and you put your Twitter handle in the. Awesome. You did it all perfectly. Yeah. Usually I have few minutes before the show, and but now there's a show just before, so I cannot do all this setup with the guests. But I'm lucky. All the guests managed to set up everything right, and it's all good. So I'm so happy to have you on the show. So, what I always ask the first question is, who are you? Introduce yourself. Take the time you want, and so let the people know who you are.
Sure. Hi, I'm Dahlia. I am a Java developer advocate at JetBrains. I've done Java development ever since I graduated from college. I joined IBM, worked on a product called WebSphere and Open Liberty. And then last year, I switched careers to developer advocacy. And I do a lot of content creation around different things. And education. I love teaching, so I do a lot of education around things like JPA, Java EE, Jakarta EE. I just released something about Docker because I had no idea
Yeah.
how to explain that well, and did that. And I've really enjoyed the switch from a traditional developer career to
Oh,
developer advocacy, and I'm really enjoying talking to the developers and figuring out what they need. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I'm based out of Minnesota in the USA, and I'm originally from Egypt. So I've gone to different, directions, and
yeah.
I have some background there.
Okay. Cool. Super cool. We will speak about advocacy. I'm interested about the switch because I did also the switch, the big switch last year because. Before that, I was already doing a bit of advocacy, but it was not official. Just to clear my memories, did we meet together in Agadir. Is that correct or not? I don't. Where
Where?
you at? Where you at Divox Morocco? No.
No, I wasn't. I was at DevNexus. Were you at DevNexus?
No, no, no. Sorry. Then I mix it up because 2 years ago I was in Agadir and there was I briefly there was an IBM booth and there was a developer advocate and I thought but I meet so many people though. No,
I
we
know. I miss that. I miss meeting everyone and seeing everyone.
yeah.
I was doing it as a side thing when I was lead, and I kind of you know found the time to do it, and now I can really do it, but I can't travel. So it's kind of interesting, the switch.
Exactly. No, no. Well, I can tell you quickly. I made a switch back last year in January,
Oh,
and I was part now. I'm now part officially of the advocacy team of Red Hat, and I was planning to travel like crazy. Now that my kids are a bit bigger, it's easier for the logistics, and yeah, I traveled one time, and then in March, the world changed a little bit, and yeah, well, we became what we're doing now, live streamers, and to be honest, I enjoy it a lot as well. I can't wait to travel again to meet people, but yeah, I got used to it, and but yeah. So about advocacy, what was the trigger for you to? Is that because you like to? You say you like education, you like to share. Is it related to this?
Yeah. So back when I worked on a product called the Migration Toolkit for WebSphere, and during that time, we did a lot of like Java migration stuff. And around that time, we were also doing a workshop at IBM about like speaking and all that stuff. And I was kind of intimidated by the idea of going off and talking to a bunch of people about what I do and like helping them and stuff. But one of my mentors, Kevin Sutter, really encouraged me to like apply for. Do you know Kevin? Yeah, Kevin's awesome. He was like, Dalia, you should totally apply and see if you get in. And I did apply, and I got accepted for my talk. And I ended up going to DevNexus of 2019 for my first conference, and I absolutely loved it. I loved people saying like, this really helped me with like understanding what the problems with migration are going to be. This is going to help me with my application, like feeling like you can actually impact someone's experience or make their job easier. Like I love that feeling, and I've always taught or tutored like math and calculus ever since I was in middle school. So I already loved like teaching people things and educating them. So ever since then, I started applying to more conferences. I went to EclipseCon, and I did a few, and I've loved that. And then when I was kind of looking around for new opportunities, my husband told me, okay, you seem like you're enjoying this conference thing. Why don't you start like looking in that area? Because I was looking at traditional development roles, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I should totally do that. So I got in contact with Trisha and started talking, and I've been really happy with what ended up happening there.
Yeah. So I guess that you are working in an awesome team there at JetBrains together with Trisha, and who else is part of your team? Are you a big team?
It's just the four of us. So it's Trisha G, Mala Gupta, and Helen Scott. Yes. So it's like an awesome team, and I'm learning a lot about that area because I feel like developer advocacy is not something you can like study. You have to like see it in practice. And I'm really grateful that I get to, learn from, the best basically. So it's been great.
Okay. There are a lot of discussions about what is exactly developer advocacy, and I remember there was a Twitter space, and you were you tried to join, but you had I think you remember this huge Twitter space that started a few weeks ago. But maybe for people, what looks like your typical day of work?
That's a good question, because I asked that of Trisha when I was interviewing. I was like, what exactly do you do? She's like, that's a good question. Let me think. It really depends on the day. A lot of it has to do with basically trying to use the product that you're interested in, getting feedback on. So, for example, back when I was doing the Jakarta EE stuff, I tried to create a web application and use IntelliJ IDEA for that. So, I went through the experience of a typical developer that's just trying things out. I tried it out. I wrote a bunch of code. And then while I'm doing the product research part, I was like, okay, this is not working quite like I expected to. So I go and talk to the developers on the, Ultimate team. I would tell them, okay, here's what a developer experience would be, and how can we make this better? So a lot of it has to do with like being the first person to try something out, and then giving some feedback, or hearing a lot about, okay, a lot of people are running into this issue. How can we solve that? I was doing a lot of the new Jakarta, namespace stuff, and I had to go back and talk to the folks about, like, by the way, this is not really working because not a lot of people had tried it yet. So a lot of it is like coding and doing this stuff, and then some of it is, you know, content creation, whether you're writing a blog or writing a conference talk or creating a video. I see it as like a teacher doing a lesson plan, like, you know, how do I explain this well enough? What would I have wanted to understand in order to get started with Docker? It's funny with Docker, I was seeing that a lot of people know how to do a couple of things, but they don't really understand why what it works. And for me, that was a really interesting kind of dilemma. How do you explain something well enough so people can use it and understand why it's working? So
I love this challenge as well, and it's not easy. Like containers, we recently we do a lot of content creation. We have deep dives, we call them, and we have really advanced deep dives. And lately we started a deep dive called Container 101. And it's more or less related to your video, but 1 hour long, we explain. So what is behind the container? What is exactly the technology? So we don't dive too much, but it's C groups and Linux namespaces, but you don't have to care about that and then slowly we show how to, and it's really interesting to build this kind of content. And
isn't it hard to simplify? Like I found it hard to simplify.
It's really hard, but you quickly have the feedback when you see people reacting and enjoying it. Then you know you had a trigger. If you have no reaction on your talk and people ask you question that clearly shows that they didn't understand what you say, you say, oh, maybe I should rewrite my content then. But
my favorite response is usually like, oh, I never understood this before and now I understand it. Like that's my favorite comment.
I love it as well. And so you do a lot of stuff for the community, but also for customers, I assume. Is it a 50-50 balance, or could you?
You know, I haven't officially talked to a customer since I started this job. It's more of like the developers that use IntelliJ IDEA, which there's a lot of them out there. So a lot of times I just kind of look around and see, you know, if someone tags IntelliJ IDEA on Twitter, I answer questions around that area. If they're doing this and that, it's not a traditional job. Like, for example, before I would talk to a WebSphere customer and talk to them about Open Liberty and talk to them about specific products. In this case, it's just a lot of people in the community use it and ask questions there. And it's really cool to see, like, you can just kind of look anywhere, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, or Stack Overflow, and see people use your product and you see people's questions, feedback, all that stuff. And I think that's why the role is so important, is that kind of connecting that to the product team so that they can make something better.
Yeah, you are also customer number 0, as we call it sometimes,
Exactly.
Yeah. And as you said, there's so many people who are using IntelliJ, so you have a huge community of people. It never stops. That must be huge. I was just thinking about it. Yeah, it must be crazy.
I love it. I love it because there's a lot of people that say, like, unsolicited, they're like, we love IntelliJ IDEA, and like working on a product that people already really enjoy. That's such a joy.
Exactly. Yeah, make it easier, I think.
It's really
or
awesome.
more challenging, because how can I make them even happier? And
and it's more feedback because more people are using it, so you get feedback from everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah. Hey, I have a question from the chat here. Let me bring it here from Jordi Sola. He is asking, Dalia, any recommendation for getting over the imposter syndrome and start feeling your words are actually worth? Yeah, that's a great question about imposter syndrome. I know Aurélie is here in the chat as well, and she has done some talks about that. But what's your opinion, your recommendation about imposter syndrome?
That topic is extremely interesting to me because it seems like with tech, it's really prevalent. And for me, like a lot of times, starting a new career like this, I felt like, okay, do I know what I'm doing? Like they're just gonna find out that I don't know enough about this or that or all the stuff. And I am definitely not gonna claim to be an expert in the area, but what has worked for me is that I take the time to appreciate the areas that I'm an expert in. And like, for example, like building expertise in Docker. Before that, I didn't know as much about Docker, but building expertise and looking back and seeing that I can learn any technology that I set my mind to, and I can even help other people that way. So really focusing on what you do know instead of like what I don't know, and getting control over your mind and these voices in your head, like, you're not good enough, you're not blah blah blah, all this stuff. It really helps to figure out why are they saying the things they are, and is that true? Like, confront it. Like, is that true? Do I not know enough about Kubernetes? I'm like, no, I know a little bit about Kubernetes, but if I really want to sit down and learn about it, I can learn about it because I've learned so much about this and that. And really celebrating your wins, that's a big thing too. The other thing that has really helped me is having a good support community like around me. That's why I love this team, because I get a lot of emotional support from them. I get a lot of mental support. They have my back. I highly recommend getting, a good group or a good support group around you. Reaching out to find mentors. I love having mentors and sponsors and all those things. But definitely getting control over your mind and confronting those thoughts, so that you tell them, no, it's not true. Everyone around me, they know a lot about one subject, and that's why they seem like an expert, but they've had years to build those expertise. So that's kind of what works for me. I'm sure a lot of people in the chat have a lot of good insight on that too.
Yeah. And please in the chat, let us know. Oh, got it. I'm just checking. I hear myself.
I hope it's not me.
No, maybe it's me. I clicked somewhere. Maybe no. Okay. Oh, looks like it's gone. Okay. Anyway, awesome. Yeah, that was great. So let's dive a bit about. Let's talk a bit about technology now. Your domain of expertise. So I guess we could start with Java. I assume you love Java. So
I love Java.
Can you quickly tell us your story with Java, how it started, and where you are?
Okay, so it's a little bit different. So when I was in high school, I took a course on programming, and to be honest, I didn't really pay much attention. I just needed to get that A. I remember we wrote some stuff, and God bless him, my teacher, Steve Strong, he tried really hard to get me interested, but then I kind of brushed it off and went to university and majored in engineering. But then I was sitting in a calculus class and I was thinking, oh God, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I switched to sociology and criminal justice. Okay. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I sat there and I was like, you know what? I really don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And I was talking to one of my friends and he was like, Dalia, I think you'd really like programming because you like math, you like physics, all those stuff. You should really give it a try. And then I ended up taking a class in Java, in Python, and in C at the same time to just try it out and see if I like it. Okay. I took the classes. I enjoyed the C class the most for me because it was a lot more like, here's exactly what's happening. There's no concepts of objects and all that stuff. And in my Java class, I would show up there and be like, I don't know what these objects are. I don't know what you're getting at here. Like C was a lot more straightforward for me. And I was thinking like, what is this inheritance? And like the teacher, he was a great teacher. He was like using toasters to demonstrate different things. And I just couldn't get it. But then, you go on. I started working for my internship at IBM, and I started really using Java in real life like applications. And I was like, oh, that's what an object is. That's why you use an object. And it really started to click. And once it started to click and like really understand the concepts, it was beautiful from there. I've really enjoyed working in it. The community is just great. Like, you look around and you see so many great people that want to help, just want to help. And I think that's is something we take for granted, but not all communities are that way. There's like the Java champions really want to help out. The people from Oracle really want to help out. The Red Hat, IBM, all these people really want to help you out. And a lot of times sometimes it's not really just about the technology, it's also about the people. And I've just enjoyed both sides of it. I've enjoyed Java and how fast it's been improving and iterating, and I've enjoyed the people and how much they're inclusive and welcoming and all that stuff. So it's just been really a good experience for me.
Yeah. As you said, we're really blessed with the Java community. It's generally speaking, good people, because as you said, in some communities, and I won't mention any community, but it's it's more complicated, let's say it this way.
Yes.
But let's move from Java to Java EE. I should say Jakarta EE.
Yeah.
And I guess that comes from your time at IBM. So, and I saw on your Twitter profile that you are a Jakarta EE ambassador. So tell us everything about Jakarta.
Yes. The first project I worked on during my internship was working on EJBs.
Okay.
And it's interesting because no one talks about that in college. Like, you don't really talk about like enterprise technologies or EJB or JPA or any of that stuff. So I went off and like did a lot of research understanding like what are these EJBs and why are they important. So I worked on that for a little bit, and then I started working on JPA. And JPA, I feel like that's it's EJB, you talk about it and people are like, oh, you worked on EJB? But JPA, you start working on, you start talking about it and they're like, oh, JPA. Yeah, okay, Hibernate and like Eclipse Link. And that's my first introduction to open source development. It was working on a project called OpenJPA, and then moving on to Eclipse Link, and then getting exposed to Hibernate and all that stuff. So from my perspective, I was more of the provider than the user. So we would take in someone saying like entity manager.persist or save or whatever you're using, and figure out, okay, how do we talk to the database based on this really simple, method call. And that's a lot of what we were doing is like, okay, underneath the covers, how can we not have the developer worry about this, and how can we translate it to the database? And just framework after framework, Java EE, even if you're talking about Spring or you're talking about whatever, it all ties together because they're all using those standards. Exactly. And I love the idea of standards. I love the idea of the developer just calls something and not worries about like what's happening in the background. They can just, have an entity and they can persist it to the database, and they don't have to worry about it. So I really enjoyed working on, JPA. And then moving forward, I worked on migration, and then we started talking about, okay, what are we doing about this namespace change from JavaX to Jakarta? And like, how do you start talking about to developers about this? I don't think a lot of developers are really have started worrying about it because, there's still some work to do in that space. We know with Jakarta EE9, you've got the namespace change, but not a lot of new features were introduced, basically none. So we're not seeing a lot of people talk about it yet, but I'm anticipating with Jakarta EE10, people are going to really see what it looks like, whether you're using Java EE, Jakarta EE, or using Spring or whatever, everyone's going to be impacted by this change. You're not going to be able to use JavaX persistence anymore. You're using Jakarta persistance. Yeah. But as I'm talking to the IntelliJ IDEA folks, they're like, oh, we can definitely do something really quick in the IDE so you can switch that name, because it's basically a find and replace, but it will definitely break your app. Like
Oh,
it's a simple fix, but it's definitely gonna be something that you need to do once you move forward. So definitely don't want to scare people away, but it's something that they definitely want to keep in mind.
yeah. I remember the discussions about do we do the Big Bang namespace change or slowly the new AP?
Yes, I'm really glad they went with the Big Bang. I feel like that just simplifies things a lot more. We'll see, but I think that was the right decision.
Yeah, we will see, but yeah, well, we have to trust us, all the developers. Yeah, if I mention Jakarta and then I think about cloud and Java, I think about microprofile. Have you been involved with microprofile as well?
I have had to have conversations around microprofile. Since Kevin Sutter is my mentor, we talk about microprofile a lot. It's definitely something that I love talking about and advocating for. I'm kind of interested to see what the future of microprofile is with Jakarta and the switch to more regular releases and stuff like that. So I'm all for providing as much value in the standard space as possible. And I've seen, throughout my career, I was thinking like, why is this coding taking so long? Like with the standards and stuff. And it's because you're going through a bunch of approval processes, all the stuff. Like it's not easy to have a standard. So whenever I see, people trying to do like standards, but also quick, I love that idea, and I think that's great that microprofile is trying to solve the problem of like you still want your application to not break with every version, but at the same time developers really want new features coming out as fast as they can, so they can take advantage of them. So like how do you kind of go between those lines? I feel like microprofile has done a great job at that, and there's a lot of great people involved in that project. So I'm always like fascinated by, okay, how can you introduce this new change without breaking the old stuff? I'm really interested in seeing how that's going to happen.
Yeah. And again, about microprofile in Jakarta, there were some heated discussions on, microprofile is more flexible on standards, but how can we bridge those together? I remember a crazy discussion after a blog post from Sebastian Deschner, and I don't know if you remember, he wrote a whole blog post and saying, I don't remember the conclusion, but it was or we kill microprofile and we just make it part of Jakarta EE or something else. But I know, go on.
I was saying like, I love it when people are that passionate about a topic because the conclusion is going to be the best for the developers. So no matter what we choose, it's going to be like, we've weighed all the options. No one's just making one decision. We've weighed all the options and we're coming up with what we think is best for the developer.
Yeah. I totally agree. And it's, as you say, it's a good conversation to have rather than do you prefer spaces or tabs? People can get really heated about it, and that I find it funny. But some people really get mad about
spaces. It. Don't even have that conversation. It's spaces. I just lost half of our audience. They're like spaces.
Let me check in the chat. But moreover, what is your opinion for Java in the cloud? Well, you do a lot of stuff around Docker right now, so. You can easily Dockerize, containerize Java applications.
So it's okay. So it's a little bit of a, it depends answer.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and I have had a lot of conversation with different customers talking about, taking their traditional application, Java application, and putting it in the cloud. And their idea of it is like, I'm going to take this application, I'm going to put it in a Docker container and, put it on the cloud. And I'm like, that is not going to, because if you have a huge application, on premise, you move it to the cloud, it's not just going to magically solve all your problems. And I remember doing like this workshop with one of our customers and, they want to do the latest thing, they want to do all this stuff. And I had to stop and ask them, what problem do you have today that you're trying to solve? So a lot of times I have to like stop people and say, okay, I know you're seeing everyone talking about the cloud and how great the cloud is and all this stuff. The question is, what problem you are seeing right now that you think is going to be solved by the cloud? Because if you have an on-premise application, it's well architected, it's monolithic, it's works great, and you don't have any issues with it, and it works, like,
yeah, why?
Why even bother? Why spend that resource there? You could spend it, adding to it or like creating something that attaches to it or whatever. But if you have a problem with your application right now, you have a problem with scaling. It's not as easy. You have a problem with finding out what the problems are in production. You have a problem here and there and there and there. Okay, what architecture or what refactoring needs to happen to your application so we can break it apart a little bit more and take advantage of the stuff that Kubernetes provides and Docker provides and all that stuff. So typically when we talk about Java applications, a lot of times I tell people, okay, look at your application and its life cycle. Is it going to be gone in the next 2 years? Then it's not really worth spending the investment to put it on the cloud. But if it's going to be here for the next 5 or 10 years and you're actively developing on it, you're actively doing feature development, and it's taking forever for you to get the feature from the developers, from coding basically to production, yes, you should definitely revisit your application architecture and figure out, okay, how can I break it up into small microservices? How can I deploy it in the mindset of cloud? Not the mindset that we've had before. You've got to shift your mindset. You've got to understand in these areas, what's going to take the most advantage. How can you take most advantage of the advantages that you get with cloud? So when people ask, Java on cloud, if you do it right, it's great. But if you go into it, you just want to do cloud, you might want to stop and think and, okay, what problems am I really trying to solve with my application?
Yeah. Great. And typically at JetBrains in IntelliJ, are you providing tooling to help people that would like to migrate their Java application to the cloud? Like, I don't know, easily providing health probes, or I don't know. Do you have any tooling around this?
Yeah, so first we have like the Docker plugin, and I've done there's a video that should be going out here soon about like how you can have you can look at all your Docker containers and images and all the information about your containers. You can even navigate into your container, look at what's there and all that stuff, which I feel like is really helpful. And then when you're doing development too, it's nice to have it all in one place. So we have a lot of the plugins available for that. And then we have the Kubernetes functionality as well available. A lot of it we're very developer focused. So we're always thinking about, okay, from a development perspective, what's going to help the user most? So, for example, when you're writing a YAML file, people complain left and right about YAML files. I was just talking to the developers about how, okay, it would really be nice if IntelliJ IDEA caught this, and we're talking about ports and putting quotes around ports and all that fun stuff. How can we make it as easy as possible for a developer to take their application and basically containerize it? And beyond that, they can figure out their, how are they going to deploy it and all that stuff. But from a development perspective, what's going to really help is being able to easily change your application, see the change right away, rebuild your image, run your container, and then go, forward from there. So we're definitely, if anyone has, any suggestions on features that you think will really help you on your cloud development needs, please, you can message me or you can post in the chat. We'd love to hear that, because that's an area that we know that is very important, and we're trying to improve on it as much as we can.
Yeah. It's the same at Red Hat. Well, we are, when it comes to tooling, we're not exactly competitors, because we provide tooling for all the IDEs, IntelliJ, Visual Studio Code, and Eclipse.
We're happy friends.
Yeah. But I love it. Our tooling team works for both. When they deliver a plugin for Quarkus, for an extension for Quarkus for VS Code, they immediately release it also for IntelliJ. And yeah, and that's also my challenge as an advocate: how to make the step easier for a developer to put his workload into the cloud. And yeah, one thing that I really like in OpenShift, so in our Kubernetes, is the latest change that we have. You can now drag and drop a jar file into the web console, a bit like when you upload a video on YouTube. But now you drag and drop your jar file, and yeah, the platform containerize it for you, and then create a deployment. And yeah, so that's a cool
awesome.
thing. Yeah, especially for me, for us as advocates. That's awesome to demo,
yeah, and make it as easy as possible.
Exactly. I love the analogy with uploading your video to YouTube. You drag and drop it, and while it's uploading, you enter the details. And here's the same. You say, okay, that's my endpoint. There are my health probes, and yeah, it's uploaded. Okay, and cool. Oh, I'm watching the time, but yeah. Looks like you like to build software, but you also like to build other stuff. If I look behind you, a lot of amazing stuff. I will show that to my son right after in the replay. Lego, you're a fan, looks like.
So I love Lego based on also my husband's love of Lego. So my husband is a big Star Wars fan, and he's gotten into collecting Lego and all that stuff. This is actually his room, but I was like, I want to do my show from here. So I've gotten into a lot more building Lego together. It's such a nice, fun, like friends activity too. And I love Harry Potter. So all of the Harry Potter sets in the top here, I've built those. So we have some in the corner here. We have some like Disney, Frozen, Mulan, Women and Astronauts, and other like Marvel, because we both love Marvel. So we kind of take turns building the Marvel sets. We probably have a lot of Iron Man, because there's like every set sometimes comes with Iron Man, sometimes it doesn't. So, and the Stranger Things, like we have a bunch of. It's like, what do we like?
The big house of Stranger Things.
Yes, and it flips. You can
and it
flip.
Flips. Yeah, we have it. Yeah.
It's so cool, and I love the fact that it's so sturdy. Like no matter what happens, like once you build it, it's not just gonna break on you. It's a very well built, toy. But to us, we love it. I love watching a Harry Potter movie and building my Lego. It's like the ultimate relaxation time for me.
You watch Harry Potter while you're building the set?
Yes, because it's perfect.
My son does exactly the same thing, and he did the same with the Stranger Things house. He put on Stranger Things and he started building, and it's awesome. The latest thing I built with my son together was the Saturn rocket. The one that went on the moon. It's huge. It's an amazing stuff to build.
That's awesome.
And I told my son, because we had a discussion just before the stream, and he said, "Oh, you have to ask her if she's planning to buy the new sets about Harry Potter that come out in June." I have no idea about, but you probably know. Yeah.
Yes, there's a couple that I have my eye on, and we're gonna definitely pre-order a couple of them. I think one of them is like a life-sized version of, not life-size, but like a big version of Harry Potter and Hermione Granger. And that's one that we got, and yes, so it's funny whenever any new ones come out, like we're always like looking around and figuring out which ones we want. Now the challenge is, where do you display them? Because after a while you kind of start running out of room. So yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. No. Oh, awesome. Yeah, and I know my son is missing one, but it's the most expensive one. Is the street? I don't remember the name of this Harry Potter set where you can.
It's like the big castle.
not the big castle, but the street, the street.
Oh, yes.
La Traversée. I don't remember how you say its name, but
yes.
and this
It's
one
like
is
4 buildings, and they
Yeah.
take up a lot of space. And I told my husband, I don't think I can get that one
no,
because
and
it's gonna just take up so much space.
I think it's sold out, and but he will dream of having this one. So okay, hey, well, we spoke a lot, but it's not a problem because it was a great discussion. Let me just double check here in the chat. We have Jordi that thanks you about your answer about imposter syndrome. He says, you mind around I'm good enough ID is hard, but I would take the advice and get surrounded by wonderful people. Yeah, okay, so that's it. James is asking about the drag and drop jar. James, that is in OpenShift 4.8, so to be released in 2 weeks or something like that. Okay, it's time for me to do some live coding, play a game. I know you have something after that, so but anyway, it was really an awesome discussion. I love chatting.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was really great. People, you can follow Dalia on Twitter. Her handle is between the, how do you call it? The brackets.
Parentheses.
Parentheses. Yeah. I spend my whole weeks mixing between Dutch, French, and English, so sometimes it gets a bit.
I'm impressed. Yeah, like it's switching languages, especially when you're talking about tech. I'm always impressed by that.
Yeah, so anyway, thank you so much. Hopefully we next year, probably when we will be able to travel, we will meet at a conference, I'm sure. And I will take some pictures of all the sets for my son and show you.
Yes, hear that. That would be awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome. Hey, have an awesome day and see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, everyone, that was great as usual. I'm really lucky. I always have awesome guests, and we also always have such great discussions. I'm running a bit out of time, but it's not really an issue. You know what? I want to quickly do a live coding. Should take 5 minutes, and then I will show you another game. Doom running on Docker. Doom 1, the old one, multiplayer. Okay, I discovered that yesterday. People from Cloudflare did that. And I say, wow, let me try to deploy that on OpenShift, because I try to deploy everything on OpenShift, okay? So let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. So we should now be in Inception mode. Yes, here you see my restream. Let me check the chat here. James, 4.8 is in 2 weeks. Okay, awesome. You know what? Before we play the game, you probably know Quarkus. You know that's my favorite. It's my favorite Java stack, okay, to build applications. And there's been Quarkus 2 alpha released 3 weeks ago. Okay, it's still an alpha, but you can already do some crazy stuff. Let me just create make a live show, something like that. Okay, let me go there. Let me create an application using Quarkus 2.0 alpha. Okay, I can do that. Let me increase a bit the screen. Clear. There we go. Oh, come on. Here. And I do that using the Maven plugin. Okay. So here I'm using the alpha 1. Maybe there's an alpha 2. I don't know. Let's stick to alpha 1. Okay. So that will create a new project for me. And it's just one small feature that I want to show you. So let me put here org.sabi, live show coding, show coding. It's a snapshot. Rest easy. Yes. I can keep all the defaults. Okay. Let me go into that. And let me open code with this application. Okay, so that's an empty application that has been created for me. Let it give it some time to start up. So nothing has changed in Quarkus 2. For the structure is still, a classic Maven structure. It's taking some time here to load my. There we go. Okay, it's running. So let me open the REST endpoint that has been created for me, and what I will do now is just start my application, okay, using the dev mode. You all know the dev mode, okay, and I do mvn Quarkus dev. Okay, there we go. that will start my project. You know, in dev mode, that means that I can change stuff, add libraries, change my code. But we have a new feature, which is called continuous testing. You might remember when you create a new project, you have some test that has been created for you, okay, by default. And what you can ask now in dev mode is to run your test every time that you change your code. So here, it's running my test, okay? My test passed because it's checking on hello REST easy, hello REST easy. So that's working, okay? What if I change my code? So I change here hello to something like, instead of hello REST easy, hello. I save it and look here what will happen. Look, my test fails. Yeah, it immediately run my test. So what I can do is just go into my test, for instance, and I can fix here the test. Let me fix the test. I save it and look at this. Now all my tests are passing. It even works if you add code. Okay, so let me add a new method here. Let me add a new method. There we go. And I will call this method, I will put it on the path fr, okay? And I will call this method bonjour. Okay, and here we return bonjour. Okay, I save that. He runs the test, but there's still only one test, okay? Because I haven't written a test for this. So let me add a test. Let me just decrease once. Yeah, that's better. There we go. Let me add a new test that we will call hello bonjour endpoint. And here we say we want to test this new endpoint /fr, and we should have bonjour. There we go. And we save that. And now you can see here in my terminal, test all passed, 2 passed were run, okay? And again, I can break it if I want. If I say here, hola, I break it. And I will have expected is hola, actual is bonjour. That is just that I wanted to show you. Continuous testing. It's still in beta, but it's really smart. It only runs, if you just change one method, it will just change run the test method of this method, for instance. And yeah, for my role is to make developers happy, to improve developer experience. And these kind of features, well, are awesome. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you. And I think there are some mosquitoes here. That's going to be fun. Week after week, there will be more and more mosquitoes here. But hopefully I will have fiber and I will be able to go back inside. Let me stop the app. That's all I wanted to show you for live coding. And we have 13 minutes left awesome to play the game. Let me see a bit in the chat if we have something. We have Paul to say hello. Okay. Continuous testing is an interesting feature. Yeah, I agree already. Okay, let's talk about the game. So yesterday I was on Twitter and I saw a tweet coming along. I don't have the tweet here right now, but basically someone say, hey, we at Cloudflare, sorry, we managed to create a Doom, a multiplayer Doom. And not the new Doom, but the old school Doom, you know, the old school one, the shareware version, which is open source, by the way. And let me share that with you because the blog post is really interesting. Let me put it there, okay? You can read it. They really explain something great about putting your code on the client or putting it on the server. There's a third way with Cloudflare, putting some of your code on the edge, okay, between the server and your client. And this way, you're closing to your client. You can put some secrets. Anyway, really interesting to see. But the interesting part is that at one point, you read this blog post, and then they say, but you know what? The code is available in this repo. Where is repo? Let me search for repo. Yeah. The open source code and instruction to compile and run was Doom locally can be found in this repo. So I click there this morning, okay? And you come in this repo, okay? I can share that with you as well. And I say, hey, let's try it. Let's do it. And you have some great instructions, okay? Compiling, that is the was Doom, okay? But you also have to do other stuff. And after struggling a bit, because I never compiled with apps with WebAssembly. Okay, I never did that. So basically, it's a special version of Doom that has WebSocket supports. Okay, and that you compiled with WebAssembly. And you end up with a GS file, and you can put that in a web app, and you can have Doom running in your browser, and it has support for WebSockets, so you can make it multiplayer. Okay, so Cloudflare did some crazy stuff. They use some specific stuff from their platform, but you can also run it locally. And I managed to run it locally, and I say, okay, now I have it locally. I want to run it in the cloud. So what did I do? I took my project here. Let me go to my project. That is so it's a Node.js project. I say, oh, you know what? Let me create a Docker file. So I created a really simple Docker file from Node 16, and here I do really not so nice work. I just put everything from the folder in my container, and I run this script, router.js, that is supposed to run for if you run it locally on your machine. But I say, now I have a container, and you know what? I also have a cluster. Let me try to deploy this stuff, okay? And if you take a look here, so it's my pod is running here. I've got my service. I had to do some stuff here because we have one port for the web app, but also one port for the WebSocket connection. So it's two different ports. So I had to adapt the service a bit. But let me see here. I got this URL here. Let me open that here for now. Port 8000. And look at this. I got my Doom running in the browser. And I can a multiplayer game. I do that, and I call myself here a Sebi, and I do Go. Deathmatch or cooperative. I only tried Deathmatch, okay? And a link has been created for me, okay? Let me copy that. Let me go to next. And now we will enter the lobby where we wait for other people, okay? I'm connected here, not to Cloudflare, but to OpenShift. And oh yeah, I see 4 people. I don't know if it's limited. Let's see. If it's limited, you can start another server because it's available. But let me copy the link. No, not in this one. Let me copy the link here. So if you click this link, you should be able to join the game. Okay, let's see if people join the game. WebSockets, there we go. So I'm there. And my cuts are joining. Let's wait a bit. We still have some time. Don't be shy. Click the link. Hopefully it works. Maybe it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, I made some tests, but I don't see anyone joining for now. Let me see in the chat if people that are still there, click on the latest link. Join me if you want to play against me in on Doom. Okay. Let's give it 2 minutes, okay? The thing is, once I start the game, it's still, it's a demo, it's a POC. People cannot join after that, okay? So I guess people might have an issue joining the game, okay? Because I see no one joining now. Let me see again in the chat if something, awaiting for other players. Oh, you have awaiting for other players? Okay. Why can I should be able to see you here, people. That's the issue. That's not happening. Okay. Maybe it's not getting updated. Waiting for other players. Still here waiting for other players. Okay, you know what? Let me try the game. Let me play the game. And otherwise, we can go on the official site where they did it. Okay. But I just want to show you. We can really play the game. Okay, so there we go. And I think no one is here. Let me take the rocket launcher. Yes. Oh! I almost killed myself. So let me go here. Okay. Ooh. Oh. Okay. I'm not sure people were able to join. Let me take. Can I do pause here? Okay. Let me see. Yep, seems none there. Okay. Let's. You know what? Let's try it again. We have still 5 minutes. Okay, so start multiplayer. Okay. I go there. Deathmatch. I copy the link. I do next, and then I share it with you. Let me see. So that's me. Oh, waiting for other players. What? Oh, I come back to the game now. Yeah, I knew it was a risk to do that. No luck. Yeah, I'm sorry. You know what? I will be working on that. What we can do now is going to the official site. Silent Space Marine. Okay, let me go there. Okay, let me close this one. Let me start a multiplayer here. Let me do that. Deathmatch. Let me try this one once more. See if people can join on this one. So that's the other. And yeah, it's strange because I tried it myself this morning. I did a lot of changes, so I'm not sure what happened. But let's see if this one is working. Oh, next. Okay, so let me see if this one works. Anyway, it's still interesting. An interesting experience for you people. If you want to try to compile this old school Doom, you need the shareware, the WAD file. You can grab it for free because it's a shareware. Oh, I got someone here joining. Oh, Sabinet Mary. I love it. Okay. Anyway, it's a really interesting experience if you want to run it locally. And okay, we are all there, so it's limited to 4 people. Awesome. And let's try it. Let's see if I can see some people there. Oh, I see people. There's no scoring system, but since there's a WebSocket connection, you know what? I will integrate it with some. Ooh, people are. Someone is attacking me. Oh, I probably have a second one. Oh, a second window open. It's getting really slow for me. Okay. Anyway, I will integrate that with Kubernetes, like deploying pods when you kill people. Oh, and now the game is taking a lot of resources. But anyway, I love this kind of integration. I was happy to manage to deploy it on my cluster, but I still have some stuff to fix. Maybe it's blocked, some ports are blocked or something like that. I have to find this out. You know what? Let me stop here the screen share. You can still play. Where is my screen share? The screen share is here. Let me stop the screen share. Let me put back in the big screen. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this show. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed a lot the discussion with Dalia. Then we could see some great features of Quarkus 2. And there will be more, okay? That was just one specific feature I wanted to show you. And yeah, Doom, yeah, it failed a bit, but yeah. That's also, we are all humans, and I just experiment and stuff, and yeah, expect maybe in 2 weeks I will have a way more nicer version integrated maybe with other games, etc. I love to do that. And that's it. Next week is Tech Talk with Edson, and it might be possible that I will be the guest. We are still discussing that on Quarkus 2. So, by the way, maybe I see you back next week, same time, but as a guest. Then, please stay safe. Have an awesome end of the week for people here around in Europe. Enjoy your day off on Monday. And yeah, love you all. Stay safe. Bye-bye.